I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to our September 10th Township of Bonnfield meeting this evening. Call meeting to order, moved by Councillor McGuinness, second by Councillor Featherstone, that this meeting be open at 7 p.m. All in favor? Carried. The adoption of the minutes of our last council meeting. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Featherstone, that the agenda presented to council and dated the 10th day of September 2024 be adopted as prepared. All in favor? Carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? And Councillor Corbett?
Yeah, I declare conflict for 5A, which is a presentation from Castleholme, as my spouse is an employee there.
Thank you. Next, we'll have our presentation and delegations from Angie Punat from Castleholme Administration Board and William Brooks, CFO.
Could we adopt the minutes first, please?
Oh, I thought we adopted them.
No, we adopted the agenda.
Okay, sorry. Moved by Councillor Featherstone, second by Councillor McGuinness, that the minutes of the regular meeting of August 27, 2024 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we'll have the Castleholme presentation.
7:02.
7:02.
Okay.
Just checking.
Anyways, thank you very much. And thanks for having our group here tonight to present to you. So our presentation, as you have before you, is sort of in three parts. It's a bit of an operational review. There's also a redevelopment update, and then an opportunity to discuss or presentation around the current budget and interest pressures that we're feeling. So if you'll just, I'll walk through a presentation. I think there is, and I'd like to add that we've also brought our project manager, Dave Smith, with us to provide an update on the project as well. So he will be participating in the presentation. So as we move through the first few pages, I'll just maybe move to the our services portion, and we do have an updated copy, or I've brought an updated copy, so it may not be exactly what you have before you. So just speaking generally around the operations of Castleholme, in terms of our mission is to provide a compassionate quality care through life's journey. Our vision is to enhance the lives of the people we serve, and with our core values and dignity, accountability, respect, and excellence in terms of all our decision making, our processes, and our policies within our home. So Castleholme itself is currently a 240-bed long-term care facility. We have approximately 315 people on our wait list. And in 2023, our admission placement was 77 individuals. So again, given the size of our home, our admission process is significant, and obviously admissions are as a result of vacant or empty beds. So within our home, we have a community support services program. This is a fully funded program by the provincial government. It's much like a paramed services or a home care services. And really this slide here is just really giving you a good snapshot of what that service provides to our community. Currently, we have 372 individuals that we provide services to in home. And unfortunately, you see a wait list of about 818, with the majority of that wait list coming from light homemaking services. So there is a fee for service, but it is a significant wait list. And certainly we do speak regularly with our government partners and advocate for more funding for that particular program. But it is an umbrella of Castleholme, but certainly at no cost to any tax dollars. Within our organization, we operate our human resource department. Clearly on this slide as well, there's a breakdown of the individuals or classifications within our home: personal support workers, registered practical nurses, registered nurses, food service workers, housekeeping and laundry, maintenance activities, CSS homemakers, CSS PSWs, and that's the community support services program, and our administrative department, with a total of 420. Again, the slide was prepared as we went through the summer. So you'll see where there's 27 students not currently on a roster or a full-time capacity or in a part-time capacity, but rather in a casual. We've moved those students at this point too. So that really gives you a snapshot of who we are and what we do and how we serve. Moving through the next slide deck is our legislative compliance. So I will say, in terms of how we're regulated, one of our regulatory bodies is the Fixing Long-Term Care Act for the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. It clearly establishes a framework of all our regulations within the long-term care sector in Ontario. They regulate such things as residents' bill of rights, duty to protect from abuse and neglect, staffing ratios in some cases, admission processes, staff education, and I could go on and on and on. It's a rather lengthy document with a subsection of regulatory regulations as well. So how do we hold ourselves accountable to, or how does the ministry hold our home accountable? They do proactive inspections where a team of inspectors come to our home, spend anywhere from 5 to 10 days, could be 2 to 5 inspectors, and they really do scrutinize the work we do. They review all our policies, and not all of them, but they review policies, menu cycles, annual reviews of all of our programs, and the list, continues and continues. So there's quite again, they're there from 5 to 10 days and 2 to 5 inspectors. So you can imagine spending a significant amount of time reviewing all of our practices, observations, meal service, etc. There's a critical incident reporting system, and that's where basically something in our home happens. There's an error, whether it's a medication error, a fall, perhaps resident to resident verbal abuse, etc. And so we report that to the ministry. There's an obligation. It's immediate reporting. Again, a significant amount of investigations, documentation. We provide that to the ministry through a portal. They then will call us and do a follow-up call. And if it needs to be expedited, then we can expect a visit back to our home and look at our critical incident reports and walk through the processes. And they confirm that, in fact, there was an error or omission, and then typically a corrective action is required following that. There's also a complaint process. So, everyone has posted with throughout our home. There's an ability for anyone who enters our home or who may have been in our home to phone a 1-800 line and report anything that they would see to be non-compliant in any of those areas. Any concerns or questions. And again, it's usually that complaint process through the phone line is followed up. There's a phone call and we follow up with any investigation that needs to happen. It can also come and write. The complaint can come in writing. Again, there's a process to follow up with that complaint process. And above all else, there's a protection. So anyone who does use the 1-800 number or file a complaint of sorts, staff, family, or resident themselves, there is a whistleblowing protection. So there's significant amount of security to the individuals who are reporting the complaint that there'll be no sense of retaliation. So in all of that, how do we ensure that we're following all of those regulations and trying to avoid or try to ensure that we're compliant in our home? We follow a quality continuous improvement plan, and again, it's regulated in the Long-Term Care Fixing Long-Term Care Act. We also use a Health Quality Ontario annual report over all homes, and we can benchmark ourselves from home to home in our area, size of our home, etc. And then again, our partnering Advantage Ontario, which again provides benchmarks for municipal homes. Lots of data and information sharing to help gauge or ensure that the quality continues in our home. Again, regulated, there's a satisfaction survey and a complaint review. So annually, our residents do receive a satisfaction survey, and any complaint that we receive, they're reviewed on an annual basis. The survey is either sent out to the POA or the residents themselves if they're able to answer that survey. So again, the next slide is just the resident satisfaction in 2023 over 2024. So you can see there's certainly some improvement, and that's always our goal, is to improve the quality of life for our residents who live in their home, whether it be their laundry services, their food services, nursing care, finance, etc., etc. So it's something that we diligently do every year, and then sort of drill down a little bit more to see where the concerns, and there's an opportunity for some written portion of it so that we're able to see where satisfaction needs to happen. And this year, one of our home areas was laundry services. Seemed to be a real challenge for our home. Again, 240, you can imagine I lose my socks in my own laundry. There's two of them, my husband and I. So, 240 residents, we do have some challenges, putting away laundry, etc. So we were able to drill down and really find where we needed to improve in that area. So that was certainly, that satisfaction survey is really beneficial. Again, would you recommend Castle Home to others? Although if you look at the green to red, it seems that it's equal, but there certainly was an uptake. So in 2023, 91.3% of our residents are feeling that it's safe, and they would recommend that home to our home to Castle Home. Recommend Castle Home to others, sorry. So the next slide, moving over, funding overview. So this is really just a breakdown of where our funding sources come from. Provincial funding, basic revenue, preferred and other accommodations, and then obviously our municipal partners with their levy. Just noted on that slide that we've had a 0% levy increase in 2022, 23, and 24. So given the cost of inflation, I think we've had some help with our provincial 4 hours of care. That certainly helped our municipal partners in terms of our levy dollars and where that's going. At this point, I will turn it over to Dave, and he will walk you through the redevelopment slides.
Thank you. So in terms of the redevelopment project, this will be where there's some new information different than the slide deck that you have in front of you. So I'm going to talk about sort of project highlights, give you a construction progress update, and talk about schedule as well. So just as a reminder to everyone, we're building, so we're currently 240 beds, as Angie had identified. We'll be 264 beds when the project is complete. 60% of those beds are going to be private or semi-private versus 20% today. So when we say semi-private, we're talking really a private room with a shared washroom. So we're seeing a significant increase in sort of private and semi-private spaces. And the new building, even though it's only 24 beds larger, it goes from 220,000 square feet from 120,000 square feet. So you're 10% more in beds, but you're more basically double in actual floor space. And that's really to reflect the more recent design standards. So bedrooms are bigger, hallways are larger, bathrooms are bigger. The things that you need to take care of our elderly residents is now going to be in place in the new facility. So a much better facility. There are two 12-bed secure resident home areas on the first floor with secure outdoor spaces. So these are for some of our higher need populations. So that's a separate program area. Those are all private rooms. Again, not something that we have in that sort of configuration today. And we have one 16-bed RHA that's being developed through a partnership with Nipissing First Nations, but looking at broader sort of First Nation support across the whole area that we serve. We also have a few other amenity spaces. We have an auditorium and a day program space, because those are services in terms of the day program that Castle Home offers to the community in terms of providing respite support for those that need that service in the area that we serve. And the auditorium is a space that is used for holding social gatherings, because with 264 residents, obviously the facility tries to get residents out of their rooms and into spaces to hold a variety of events. And if you ever look at their website, you'll see the calendar of the various things that they do offer. Construction progress, I think in terms of, the phase 00 and phase 1A were sort of the work. In order to allow us to build a new building, we had to do some things to that site to make space for the new building. So that was really what those first phases were. Phase 1B, as we call it, is 136 beds. It's a little bit more than half of the bed capacity is what's being built now. And if you've been to North Bay recently, it's pretty hard to miss if you're driving down the highway, because it's a 5-story building with a penthouse on top of it. So it's 6 stories technically. Exterior cladding is getting to be very near completion. So probably later this month, early October, the exterior will be done on that part of the building. Interior framing work is largely complete on all floors. There's some small infill to be done as they're doing their final drywalling. That'll be done as the drywall is being completed. Interior boarding, when I say ongoing on levels 2, 3, and 4, substantially complete on 2, getting very close on 3, 4 is in progress. Their goal is by mid-October, early October, they'd be finished drywalling 1 through 5. We think they're a little optimistic, so that's a conversation we're having with them in terms of just making sure we can be looking at, as realistic dates as possible. Elevator installation is now in progress, should be wrapped up by middle of October. This first phase has one new elevator. When the second phase is built, there'll be two more, so that'll be a total of three. The first phase will be one. Mechanical electrical work is progressing very well. So a big part of the mechanical penthouse is, I'm sure you can all imagine, a building of this size has significant heating equipment, hot water equipment, air handling equipment, those sorts of things. A lot of that is in phase one to serve the entire project. So that is getting to be very close to being able to start various pieces of equipment over the next few weeks, which is good. All roofing is complete, obviously. We're a few balconies left to have the roofing membranes put on them, but they've been all poured, the concrete's in place, and that sort of work has been done. We do have some, we've had some structural stuff that's happened during the installation of the structural systems in the buildings. So we've had to do some floor leveling. There's been some cracks that have shown up that we're doing some repairs on or will be doing shortly. And we're having discussions amongst the contractor and the design team with regards to whose responsibility that is. In no world is it Castle Homes and our partners' responsibility. This is either the contractor's issue or it's a design issue. Nothing that affects the long-term integrity of the building, but things that we've had to do some remediation for, like leveling floors and filling these cracks, that somebody's got to pay for. And as I said, that's not something that we or our partners expect to pay for. So more to come on that as it gets resolved. Link construction, what I'm referring to there is we got to connect phase one to the existing building somehow. So we're actually building sort of a hallway that connects right out of the old front entrance of Castle Home as it used to exist to the new building. So that will be the link for the next 2.5 years or so to finish the second phase. And that link will be removed when the old building is taken down at the end of the construction of the project. Permanent power is now into the building. It's up and running, and they're slowly starting to energize various parts of the building. So it's moving along. We'll talk a little more about progress here in the project schedule update. We started construction in March of 2022. Phase one occupancy is now targeted sort of the end of January 2025. As I said, we're discussing this with them because we think they're still optimistic in terms of that date, but we'll know more shortly. It should have been about a year ago. So there has been some delay in this project for sure, in terms of that. And some of it in the early days, we started during COVID. So this was something that from a supply chain perspective created some issues for us. Existing foundations, we found some stuff on site that nobody had on a record, which often is the case if you're building on a current property or even on other properties. But in our case, we did find some. And we've run into some issues that I think it's an industry issue as a whole, is trying to find people, if you're the subcontractors on this project, has been challenging. So from a site coordination and subcontractor perspective, there's been some delays in getting the numbers of people and the quality of people you need to move a project to this side along at the pace that you hope to move it along. And that's created some of that, a big portion of sort of the delay that we're currently dealing with. So as of now, we're talking January 2025, phase two occupancy would be then sometime in August of 26, and would be completely wrapped up a year later. Why is it a year later, you may be wondering, is because once we're in the new building completely, then we have to demolish basically most of the rest of Old Castle Home. So part of it will be demolished after this phase. We'll take down Apple and Maple, the two one-story sections of the current building. We'll finish the new building. And then we have to take down what's referred to as the West Tower and the admin area and the existing chapel. Those will come down, or the existing auditorium. That will come down, and we will save the North Tower, which is about 37,000 square feet. It was built in 1990, and the intention is for that to be repurposed. So that last year really does that final demolition, completes the site roads and parking lots to finish the project. And that's why there's an extra year tied onto this. So I think at this point, I'm turning it over to William to talk finance.
Great. Lucky me. Thank you. So yeah, I'm going to take you through just 4 really sections here. First, we're just going to look at the project budget. So we saw the operating budget earlier for 2024. We'll look at on the capital side now for this project, and then we'll just talk about a couple key points that we've sort of faced, challenged, you could call them, around first interest rates, because I think you're familiar with sort of where interest rates have gone over the past couple of years, as well as provincial funding and just where we're at with that and where we're hoping to go. And then also just to provide with your budgeting process, or to assist with your budgeting process, I should say, looking at the capital levy or the forecast capital levy, right? So we can say what it's going to be for next year, but as you know, we watch interest rates and see how that affects things, then obviously that changes the projection up further, right? So yeah, so first with the construction budget, I think we've all seen sort of the headline figure, the $120 million number. So this is sort of showing the breakdown here. About $100 million in hard costs, and then various soft costs. I just want to call out a couple of things. So we do have obviously contingencies built into the project, roughly 4%. And then there's also there is a provision for construction interest in the project, so about $2.8 million. And then so just to provide some context, if we'll see in the few further slides, is really those were set, you know, based on the rates that when we were looking at, you know, starting this project around 1% construction interest, right? And you'll see where they've gone since then. So just to point out that, you know, when you see that $120 million number, it is a fairly, you know, complete budget, I would say. And then, so of that budget, we've spent about 41% to date. And I would just highlight too, if you look at, you know, percentage of contingency spent, it's about 27. So, you know, we're seeing, you know, relatively on track for use of contingency funds. So. And this is to July 31st, social point. So then on the next slide, you'll see a chart with, you know, kind of small font. So I apologize for that, but really this is me tracking interest rates over the past, since June 2021, when we started doing the financing deals with Infrastructure Ontario. And you can see really that the rates that are applicable to this project really have mirrored the Bank of Canada prime rate. So the 30-year term loan that this project will convert to once the construction is done, that rate was at about 3% for 30 years. And it's sitting now today at about 4.46. And I should note that it was as high as 5.4 in October of 2023. So we are starting to see that trend down, which I'm sure as a municipality you're you know, watching closely as well with your projects. So, and then the rate that's applicable right now is the construction rate. So when we were in talks with putting this project together, that rate was at 0.63%. And you can see that it's now at 4.96, again, having come down from 5.62. So we're obviously, that's the one that we're watching closely. It follows the prime rate within about 0.25%, 0.25%, I should say. And so, yeah, so this is really what's impacting our project at this point. And I guess I'll just show you on the next slide, really what that means in dollars. So the top green table is really the capital shortfall. So I'm not calling it a levy, because the levy and the shortfall of the project are different, because we can fund some of it through reserves or whatever, right? So it's really not the levy, but it does sort of relate to the levy, right? So really the top box is at today's interest rates, the bottom box is at the original interest rate. So you can see really that interest only portion goes away completely during construction. And obviously your term loan at the end of the term is lower as well. So obviously interest rates play have a big impact in this project, and this kind of illustrates that. So we're monitoring this closely, and it kind of speaks to my point about the levy, where we're seeing interest rates come down, and that means a corresponding levy coming down over the next few years. So going from there, we go into provincial funding. So really that's the other side of the formula that impacts the levy rate. So it's how much the project costs and how much funding we have for it. So this project's funded based on the 2020 funding policy from the Ministry of Long-Term Care. And really for Castleholm, that means about $6.5 million in grants on substantial completion. So it's kind of like an upfront payment as a down payment on the loan. And then $2.2 million in annual funding for 25 years. So in late 2022, the ministry announced a CFS top-up of $35 per bed per day for certain projects. At this point, Castleholm is not eligible for that funding, but the next slide does show what the impact of getting that funding would be. And we are in talks with the ministry to say, hey, listen, we need this extra funding for our municipal partners, and here's the impact rates. Excuse me. So really same thing, the green box above is the same as the last slide, today's scenario. And the bottom box below is Thanks, yeah. These numbers make me choke up.
Well, these are good numbers. If we had them.
Yeah, so you can see that the interest portion is relatively unchanged because this funding kicks in once the project's built. But really, it's that last column there, 2028 plus, that you can see you're going from 4.6 million per year to 1.2 million per year, right? So that's where that's a substantial amount of funding. And we're working with our provincial partners to try and do everything we can to secure that funding. Last slide, yeah, is just something I've thrown in here for planning purposes, given that we're coming up on, budget time. So this shows the forecast capital levy over 2025 to 2029, keeping in mind that 2029 is really 2029 to 25 years out. So it sort of normalizes in the year 2029. And then also keep in mind, that this does not include the regular operating levy. So for that levy, we also are giving you a target to plan for of 0% to inflation. We're targeting 0%, just understanding that this capital burden is coming. And we want to do what we can to ease that. And then obviously it's subject to interest and all those things. So sorry about my voice, it's going on me, but yeah, I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, please, happy to take them.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, and I'm sure council members have some questions. I'll go with Donna first.
Okay, thank you. That was awesome. Thank you very much. Very informative. Yeah, let's talk about dollars. So how can we help with the CFS top up? Is there something that municipalities can do? Because that is a significant amount. So, I mean, in the first year, it's over 56K. So
It is. So to be honest with you, we've made this presentation to the city of North Bay. You are our first council sort of out of North Bay. So as we go around, I suspect that'll be the same question. So I would strongly encourage, obviously, once perhaps we've made all these presentations, we could come back as a group of municipalities and sort of forge together a plan, as opposed to every municipality attacking it from their own, everyone's coming from the same purpose is we obviously want the full funding. So if it would be okay with council and mayor, I would suggest if we can double back, and I think Billy and Nikki have certainly been in regular communications around budgeting. So this doesn't, I hope it doesn't come as a surprise to you. But it's not that we don't want to address it. If we could
absolutely.
finish off. I think we're the month of September and October, we're into council presentations. So if it's okay and we can do that, then I think, collectively we could perhaps come back together.
yeah, it's encouraging that it's not off the table.
Yeah.
So if
Never off the table on our end.
yeah, so that
Yeah.
is encouraging. And then I think the one other question that I have is back to the community support services. Do you know what the Bonfield numbers would be for
I don't know
that?
off the top of my head. I honestly, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I know we have clients in East Ferris, and I don't know that we come out to this far yet, or they fall in our catchment.
So then we would get a rebate.
So that's a provincially funded, it has no levy dollars.
Okay.
So you can absolutely go to the province and ask for a rebate for that program. It's likely that you're serviced through a different agency in the community.
Right. Okay.
But yeah. So it's as far as I'm aware, East Ferris is our sort of border, our client list sort of stops there. But I will confirm that. If I'm wrong, I will let you know, but I'm almost certain
Thank
I'm
you.
pretty accurate.
Okay, Dan,
I don't have
no,
any questions.
Steve?
Me neither. Thanks for the presentation.
Yes, thanks.
I have a question. The construction project is done in 2027. And the progress is you're constructing and demolishing at the same time. So people will be in the home before 2027. Is that correct?
Yeah, so at the end of phase one, which should be again early next year, we'll move 136 residents into the new facility because that will be ready. And that allows us to tear down part of the current building, Apple Maple, which represents 97 residents, and then we will take some residents out of the current East Tower and move them in as well. Because a big chunk of our current home is an air conditioner. So we use a variety of portable air conditioners and other air conditioning to be able to keep the temperatures at a safe level. So we're trying to move as many people into the new building as we possibly can, and therefore have enough air conditioning capacity to have everybody else in the current building looked after. And then at the end of the second phase, 128 residents, well, actually won't be 128. It'll be enough to get us to 240. Will come into the new building, and then we will admit 24 new residents after that. So we won't increase to the 264 until we're completely finished.
Okay, thank
In
you.
2026.
In
Yeah.
2026, we start admitting new residents in 2026. Because that last year, you remember, is just to allow us to do the final demolition. But by then, we're out of the old building, so
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Well, thank you for the presentation. I can say my mom lived in Castleholm for 7 years, and she passed away there as well. But I think she gave a lot of the workers a hard time while she was there. But I went to Castleholm every day, and I know the route there, so I know that it's a much needed facility and no different than anyone else. So we're hoping that the province will contribute more, which will mean less against our residents as well. So thank you very much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you for having us. Oh, exit stage left, is that okay? Unless there's something really exciting.
Okay, good night.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, somebody better.
Thanks.
get
Thanks,
seated.
Andres.
Nice.
Good night.
We're done.
Thank you.
There you go. There you go. See you later.
Take care. Good seeing you.
7:32.
7:32? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have another presentation from our deputy fire chief on the department's activities.
Correct. So, I guess I'm here to speak on the current activities we've been doing, plus the fire protection grant that we applied for. Earlier this year, the the provincial government announced $30 million to go out to all of the fire departments in Ontario. Funding is anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000 per active department. In Bonfield, we have 2 active departments. So we put in for a second set of bunker gear for my frontline firefighters. I'm pitching the point that a second set of bunker gear for my frontline firefighters would keep us much safer, because the whole point of the grant is for cancer prevention and the health and safety of the firefighters. With this second set of bunker gear, we can put the frontline firefighters into service much quicker. There's less downtime between cleanings, and if we have wet gear, that gear can now properly off gas and be treated as it should be to prevent any sort of illness down the road. So we put in for 6 suits, bunker gear, top and bottom, plus an additional 20 flash hoods that are more protective than the current flash hood we have. The flash hood is something that goes on top of our helmets and inside our breathing apparatuses. So we're requesting flash hoods that go down below the shoulders, as opposed to the current ones we have that just cover the neck and back. When the firefighters are moving around, sometimes they could be exposed in the neck soft spots, which is a purchase point for any sort of cancer or heat at that. So if we've done our numbers correctly, and Nikki's double checked everything, we are putting in for a total of $19,164, just puts us under $20,000. During the presentations that the Ontario Fire Marshal put on for this grant, they told us to aim high. If you can overspend, because we can always reduce. But if we go under, then they're not going to give us more next time, right? So we're trying to prove to the Ontario government that there are fire departments in all of these municipalities in Ontario that we need more funding.
And we need it from the Ontario government. So hopefully, we should hear something by March, whether we got it or not. The presentation that we put together was really good, really strong. I know a lot of other fire departments are also putting in for second set of bumper gear. It seems really promising. We should know by March. So
Good.
that's it. And what we've been working on, so for the month of September and August, is we've been working in our chapter 15 training manual. It's pertaining to scene preservation, scene surveys, and fire overhaul procedures. That's what we've been up to. Hopefully we get some cash.
Is that just 6 suits per site?
It's a total of 6 suits. So we've broken that down between the two.
Sure, yeah.
Two fire departments and the guys that respond the most.
And the 19,000, that's with taxes, right? Because you've got 18,000 in the actual grant, right? So 18,995.
Right, so the 19, so
Is-
the total project is 21,000.
Oh, okay.
The 19 is the includes the non-refundable HST,
Okay.
and the 18 is without taxes.
Okay. And then I assume here too, I can't see the second line, but you've got the 6 coats and then the flash hoods is
Yeah.
the
And the
line that's
flash hoods
below
is
that
the
I
line.
can't see. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also have a question around our officers and the training. So I know you sent us that email, but so based on the records, do we have a fire prevention officer currently that's fully trained so that if they had to do, say, the daycare or the community center, we've got someone that we can send out?
We do.
And,
Look at that.
and that is one of the officers?
That would be myself.
And are
or
you
the fire
fully
prevention.
trained?
I have the authority under the Ontario Fire Marshal to do the inspection.
But
Because I have I have the background in the fire code and fire prevention.
Okay, but do you have the, because from what I understand, you need the basic courses for level 1 for fire prevention. I don't think you can do it if you don't have that, correct?
You can, yes, you can. As I am an assistant to the fire marshal, I have the authority to enforce the Fire Prevention Act.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a follow-up to that, is there an intention for training? Because obviously,
There
I
is
think,
an
yeah.
intention for training.
Perfect.
Yep, we do have a plan that we are going forward with the current fire prevention officer as well.
Great.
And to get the additional training, but right now, him and myself have the assistant to the fire marshal training that they require to carry out and enforce the Fire Prevention Act.
perfect, because I think you hear us speak over and over and over again about wanting to ensure our
Yeah.
fire department is trained properly, that our public works department is trained.
Absolutely.
We're very big on making sure that we're setting our staff up for success and our volunteer fire department. And the best way to do that is to make sure that they have the training they need. Even more so important in a fire department to ensure safety of our residents and mostly, of course, our residents and our firefighters. So, yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions? Anybody else?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
I would just like to say something to our fire department. And it's very important to someone when you see that someone close to you is part of the stats. And I have to say, thank you so much to our fire department over and over again, especially for the first responders when they go out and when they make such a difference in someone's life. And I want to say openly, thank you.
Very welcome. I will pass it on.
Thank you.
That's great.
There's a motion at the bottom.
Pardon?
There's a motion to accept his report and the grant submission.
On here?
On your motion
Oh,
sheet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Number 6A.
Where's my first page? Right here, I think. What the heck did I do with it? I turned it here because I thought we were done. Sorry. The report from Deputy Fire Chief Dave, moved by Councillor McGinnis, seconded by Councillor Featherstone, that the council for the Township of Bonfield accepts the department's report and further that council approve of the fire protection grant submission. All in favor? Carried. I don't know. Next, we have the adoption of committee minutes and motions. The Corporate Services Committee, no minutes for this session. Emergency Services Committee, August 26, 2024. Next, we have the Planning Advisory Committee, no minutes. Jason, you may want to touch on our new planner.
Yeah, absolutely. We were very lucky and to secure Simon Blakely as our new planning administrator for the Township of Bonfield. He's bringing a wealth of knowledge and skill to that role. I think our township will be served very well with Simon working within that department. So yeah, he was very impressive in his interview, very impressive. Today's day one, and but it's been a great first day, and he was already been to a committee meeting just before this meeting, and so just on behalf of council, we'd like to welcome Simon. So
thank you. And next we have the Recreation Committee, no minutes for this session. Is there anything, Steve?
The next big thing is the Halloween parade. So just to clarify a couple of things from social media, if I can.
Sure.
Renee Content has run the Bonfield Halloween Parade for 3 years now. She came to the township and to the rec committee, just stating that with working full-time and family life and other obligations, she didn't have the time to put into the event this year, that she's feeling a bit of stress about it. So we have agreed to run it through the township. She's going to kind of come and go as much as she can and help out. The parade's going to go on, which is great for the community and for the kids. So.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the Police Services Board, no minutes for this session. Did you have a question?
I
for
just
Steve?
wondered why the library board's not on, because the library board met. So can I update on the library board? If
Sure.
not, I don't think it's on there.
Sure.
No, just that, I mean, the library had just an outstanding summer with so many activities. They did the snake. I mean, they're now doing the Marvel comic cards, and I think that they're going to be participating in the Halloween parade, and talking about maybe a costume exchange but they've been super active all summer long. And so just, yeah, I want to say kudos. They've increased the membership. So they do a lot of really outstanding work, and they reach out to the community. They're just an absolute asset to Bonfield.
Their biggest new initiative is a youth advisory committee, which is huge for
Yeah.
this area. So.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, very proud of our library.
Okay, thank you. Dave, do you want to stay for the meeting, or would you like to?
take the opportunity.
Your chair told me last time not to make you stay the whole meeting.
We appreciate you being here though, Dave. Thank you.
Good night, thanks. I do what I'm told, Steve.
If the boss gives you a pass, you take that pass. Thank you very much. I'm leaving.
Yeah, don't keep our fire chief here. Okay, so thanks, Donna. So are we having a discussion of this cancellation of the November 12th meeting because of the training? I'm fine with it. Any other concerns? No?
Great.
So then I guess we'll have the motion. Moved by Councillor Featherstone, second by Councillor Corbett, that the CAO clerk treasurer and deputy clerk treasurer be authorized to attend the municipal finance officers Association training in Sudbury, and that the meeting of council scheduled for November 12th, 2024 be canceled in its entirety, and that a special meeting of council be scheduled if required. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we have resolutions to be considered for adoption. Resolution to adopt bylaw 2024-54 to enter into an agreement with Powassan and Area Family Health Team, moved by Councillor McGuinness, second by Councillor Featherstone, that council for the Township of Bonfield hereby adopts bylaw 2024-54, being a bylaw to execute an agreement with the Powassan and Area Family Health Team as presented and is considered read 3 times and passed this 10th day of September 2024. All in favor?
Oh, I have a
Carried.
question. Oh, sorry. I just have a question. What is RPNGA? There was an acronym in the, and I looked everywhere to try to find what that was.
It's our agreement with the Ministry of Health, so it's the Rural and Northern Physician Group Agreement.
Okay, thank you. And then the only other question that I had was that there's a 3-month written notice of any physician who joins or leaves that we give the, the physicians agreed to give 3 months written notice of any physicians who join or leave the Bonfield Medical Center. So that must just be standard boilerplate stuff, right?
But our MPGA actually is 2-month notice.
Oh,
So this just allows Powassan to be able to manage the resources that they have offered if a physician leaves, or to consider what we can do for if a physician joins.
okay. So having that extra time. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Next we have,
We gotta vote.
Oh,
Did we finish the vote?
Mm-mm.
oh, well, I thought I carried
Yeah.
it.
I think we're all in favor. Yeah, it's all good.
All right. Next we have motions to support all of the correspondence.
No, there's the motions of support. Item 9B, which is a long one, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have that, yeah.
That's our fault.
Yeah, now we think about, we said yes. but
Yeah. Depends on the length of the
We
motion
did,
that comes
we
with it. Yeah.
We have 3 pages. I should make one of you each read one. Moved by Councillor Featherstone, second by Councillor McGuinness. Whereas the state of healthcare in Ontario was in crisis, with 2.3 million of Ontarians lacking access to a family doctor, emergency room closures across the province, patients being derostered, and 40% of family doctors considering retirement over the next 5 years. And whereas it has become increasingly challenging to attract and retain an adequate healthcare workforce throughout the health sector across Ontario. And whereas the Northern Ontario School of Medicine University says communities in Northern Ontario are short more than 350 physicians, including more than 200 family doctors, and half of the physicians working in Northern Ontario expected to retire in the next 5 years. And whereas Ontario municipal governments play an integral role in the healthcare system through responsibilities in public health, long-term care, and paramedicine, whereas the percentage of family physicians practicing comprehensive family medicine has declined from 77 in 2008 to 65% in 2002. And whereas per capita healthcare spending in Ontario is the lowest of all provinces in Canada, whereas the robust workforce developed through a provincial sector-wide health human resources strategy would significantly improve access to health services across the province, Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Bonfield urge the province of Ontario to recognize the physician shortage in Nipissing District and Ontario, to fund health care appropriately and ensure every Ontarian has access to physician care, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be circulated to the Premier of Ontario, Honorable Doug Ford, our local member of provincial parliament, Honorable Vic Fideli, the Minister of Health, Honorable Sylvia Jones. All in favor? This one's quicker. Moved by Councillor Featherstone, second by Councillor Clark, that the Council for the Township of Bonfield supports the City of Quinte West, calling on the federal government to provide a supplement to the allocations provided to municipalities under the AMO CBBF agreement for 2024 to 2028 for the same amount that was allocated, effectively doubling the allocation for those years. All in favor? Carried. Town of Plimpton, Wyoming Cellular Communication Services, moved by Councillor McGuinness, seconded by Councillor Featherstone, that the Council for the Township of Bonfield supports the town of Plimpton, Wyoming, in requesting that the federal government and ISCD to make it priority to push forward with their commitment to provide crucial infrastructure in a meaningful and timely manner, and provide action and enforcement of the regulations that mandate timely installation of approved cell tower installations. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Featherstone, seconded by Councillor McGuinness, that the Council for the Township of Bonfield supports the Township of Sterling Rawdon, requesting that the provincial government to update the Public Sector Salary Disclosure Act to reflect the inflation rate since 1996, and that the inflation rate is applied each year to the requirement to report public salaries. All in favor? Carried. Going pretty good, eh? Moved by Councillor Featherstone, second by Councillor Clark, that the Council for the Township of Bonfield supports the town of Petrolia and City of Belleville, requesting the provincial government to take immediate action to ensure family physicians are properly compensated with immediate fee increase, and that the administrative burden now being experienced by family doctors be reduced so that they have more time to see their patients. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Featherstone, second by Councillor Corbett, that the Council for the Township of Bonfield supports the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Township of Baldwin, demanding full disclosure of all pertinent details regarding the proposed future of the Norm Transportation and Deposition Plan, including specific transportation routes, emergency response plans, safety protocol, and the future management plan for the Alpha site, and that the environmental health impact assessments be conducted with input from independent experts, and that these assessments include opportunities for public hearings to ensure transparency and community involvement, and that the province of Ontario enact legislation that consultation with municipalities is a requirement of any projects that include the transportation or deposition of norm. And that's with transportation of the hazardous waste, right?
Mhm.
Or hazardous?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mhm. Oh, all in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Featherstone, seconded by Councillor Clark, that the Council for the Township of Bonfield supports the town of Lincoln and Fort Erie in requesting the provincial government to support increasing funding for public libraries and community museums. All in favor? Carried. Next, moved by Councillor Featherstone, seconded by Councillor McGuinness, seconded by Councillor Featherstone, that council receives the correspondence circulated with the agenda of September 10th, 2024. And we have that correspondence. Can I ask if there's any for support next, for our next council meeting? Any that you would like the AMCTO provincial updates to the municipal election of?
No, it hasn't been updated in a while, and it's talking about reducing administrative stress on, so I would say
You want to
yes.
support it? Okay, Andre. City of Bradford legislative amendments to improve municipal codes of conduct and enforcement letter. I want to support that.
Sure.
Sure.
Sure. Municipal Information Network articles on perspectives. Any comments on that? I can't remember what that one was.
Oh, it was an excellent article around the nature of politics, and I think it speaks to things like social media and how it plays in.
Oh,
that,
yes, okay.
People are not wanting to run for office because of the toxicity that is occurring.
Where?
So we're supporting that one, right?
There's
So. Did I say Carrie, the last receives the correspondence and we've set it forth for support? That one. Is there closed session?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Moved by Councillor McGinnis, seconded by Councillor Featherstone, that the meeting of council hereby proceeds to closed session in accordance with section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended at
7:57, but I think our clerk's going to say I was looking to get hold of.
just before we go into closed, for the question period, there were no questions again.
okay.
Great.
Okay. At
Okay.
this time, I will proceed to end the recording.